Marcus, so what, as taking the whole commissioning process, what part of it really needs more attention that's not getting enough attention right now?
Well, if you were, in my opinion, if you were to put a lot of people, commissioners, owners, construction managers, into the normal people, right? Normal suspects. If you were to basically talk about what the question you just asked is what is needed early or why, I would automatically say two things. One is bring commissioning on as early as possible. And no, I'm not basically saying here, pay us more money. The earlier you can bring a commissioning professional on, a commissioning provider on, is our job is to basically help out with lessons learned, recommendations and solutions, the process of commissioning, right? So one of the first documents that you will actually work with an owner, right, in creating, work with, not do, is where, remember, review, that kind of language. Like, so we're going to help out is the OPR. Okay. So, and let's just say with LEED projects, okay, it is definitely helped bring commissioning and a lot of other areas into the mainstream in the last 20 years. Okay. Yes, I'm gonna credit LEED with that, because there's a lot of definitions of OPR, BOD. They've been around for a while, right? But it's really been brought out. And if you can actually get in early, and it's like, this is the document that everybody always asks, what is it? Seriously, right? How many people that are watching this will probably go OPR, right? Owners project requirements. Like, so when I teach a class on OPR, I'm one of those people from my entire life, I create somewhat of an analogy, right? So when people say, what is this? I'm like, all right. I always say, do you have a car? I'm like, do you have an apartment? Of course, right? So I always try to create something. So OPR, owner's project requirements. Ready for this? Your own personal requirements. Over the course of teaching this for a while, I felt like every time I was talking with students, I couldn't really connect, because, they're not an owner, right? So an owner spent 20 years trying to save, $30 million to basically build one building. And then you have construction managers and engineers, and they're all like, what does this mean? Your own personal requirements. Imagine if you actually treated every building like it was your own. Imagine if someone's like, hey, why'd you buy that car? Why did you go to that university? What do you want when you're dating someone or you're going to marry someone? Like, you have your own personal requirements. I'm almost done with this rift, right? So it's just like, once you can start to understand that these are the requirements, hopes and dreams, these are your sustainable components, your carbon components, your requirements. Like, this is what the programming, how long do you want the building to last? You see where I'm going? Like, if you start this as early as possible in pre-design, you have all the different workshops and you go through it. Can you imagine if there was actually sections that dealt with lessons learned? Can you imagine, like, the owners, remember, because you put out an RFQ and you're like, oh, we want these people to work on it because they're going to mitigate risk. OPR. What do you want? You're going to avoid this. OPR. You're going to have these requirements. OPR. I could go on, but you see where I mean? Where it's just like, think about the end in mind and write what you want in the beginning in your own personal requirements, in your owner's project requirements. It's almost like ding, ding. It shouldn't be a ding, ding moment. This should literally be a repeated process where we get good at this.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I think we're aligned on that. I mean, that's one of my riffs when I'm talking in public. 80% of every problem is baked into the design cake. And the reason for that is the design brief, the owner's project requirements, your personal requirements are not fleshed out or explored. Now, to be fair, some clients do like the whole project requirements being very vague because it gives them the opportunity to change their mind. I didn't mean that. I meant this, right?
Well, they could be called design criteria. Remember, not everybody. Some clients have much better set processes than others. And there's always a design criteria. There's always this. There's always, not to say that this doesn't exist. It's just how you look at it in the terminology. But with LEED, I'm saying LEED again, but everybody should probably do an OPR. You should have the early charrettes. I'm going to say this one thing too. Is, okay, I got to say this. So when an owner brings on an architect first, like we're supposed to be owners advocates, owners reps. Why are we brought on first? And I'm not trying to say pay me more money. Well, if we're your representative, why are we brought on after the construction manager? Why are we not brought on early? Why are we not there with you, vetting all these processes to help the process? That's where I have always, and maybe it'll change, but as an owner's rep, we are there to protect the owners and the owner's intent. Shouldn't we be brought on first?
Yeah, that's, I mean, most of the OPRs I've done have been retrospective, which defeats the whole object of the exercise, right?
Yeah.
It just becomes a bit of bullshit paperwork at that point. But, clarity is the enemy of the incompetent and liars, right? And the OPR brings clarity. The design. So let me internationalize this. The design brief. If you're a client and just saying, give me a LEED Gold building, that means absolutely zero to anybody. And it's just an open, brief. If you want, don't whine if you don't get the building you want, if you haven't asked for it properly, right? Yeah. And given the requirements and the operational requirements and the target EUI and the target water use intensity. If you're not willing to lay that out, then just be happy with whatever you get.
Well, you just said another word. Yeah. Target.
Yeah.
Okay. Target. Okay. So, remember the movie The Patriot, right? When basically he was teaching his kids like how to shoot the gun. That was a musket ball, but he's like aim small, miss small, right? So it's just like define these things. Yeah. Make you gotta give targets, but you also have to say, how do we hit the targets? If there are no teeth, and I'm not saying performance, this or that, or basically doing guarantees, because nobody's going to give that word in a document. But at the same time, what is a target if it's always moving? And what good is it if someone's like, I'm going to target a 45 EUI, and then you end up with 105 or a 90 EUI? Like what happened?
No, so to wrap this up, I think we agree. Like the design brief, the OPR is important, and I would ask everyone out there to just notice who resists doing that, because OPRs and good design briefs bring clarity, and people who don't like clarity are people you should avoid because they're looking for excuses and ways out.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Or they're looking to be paid more, or cost plus, design assist. I don't know. It's just like,
what's the strategy for some people, right?
Yeah, no, it's like every time I'm in this business, I'm thinking, I joke with people and say, wait, I'm getting paid to make sure that they're doing their job. It still blows my mind. And that's another topic, but we're owners reps. We're here, to basically make sure that this is carried through the process.
Yeah.